life is longer.
I can be authentic to who
Welcome
I am
to Date,
with people.
Affirm,
That is a
the
red
Real.
flag for me.
Our live
I don't do everything
podcast
with people
talking
that I can't
about
be
today's
authentic.
relationships
Can you judge
and its
everything I
effects
do?
on us all.
Got something to say about me?
Please welcome our hosts,
You're not my
Keya McLean, the poet, and Shimeka, the dog therapist. Let's get real.
Well, what's up, y'all?
Hello,
Our
hello,
producer
hello.
wasn't playing with us tonight, okay, y'all?
Okay.
Our
Man,
producer was like, time to go.
and go.
And
Action.
now.
Action.
Thanks for keeping us in order, babe. We appreciate it.
Yes.
Big shout out to our producer, my hubby, Marcus. Thank you, babe.
Yay.
Well, what's up, y'all? I'm Keya McLean, the poet, and that is
Shimeka Arnold, the dog therapist.
boom, like boom, boom, boom.
Yay.
Look at her, y'all. Ain't she so pretty?
I'm a pretty girl.
My cousin is bomb.
And
Boom.
so are you. And so are you.
Big hugs and love. What's up, everybody? Happy Tuesday. We are back with you all again this evening. You already know we are talking about the multiple choice dater or the fill in the blank dater.
I like that. Yes.
Which dater are you? Now, although we've had some similar conversations to this particular conversation is going to hit a little bit different. Are y'all ready for this conversation tonight? The first thing I want you to do before we get into this conversation is, and I'll give reminders throughout the night, I want you to A, share this live out with your people. B, I want you to subscribe to our YouTube channel if you haven't already.
It's not on Instagram, huh?
We're not on Instagram tonight.
Oh no, it's out. It just popped up.
Yeah, we are not on Instagram tonight because Instagram is having some technical issues this evening. So because of that, we're strictly on YouTube. So this is why I'm making this shout out. We posted it on IG. We posted it on the Facebook page as well. But as another reminder, we're not on IG tonight. So hopefully next week when the fellas are on, IG is back to properly working. But as it stands now, IG's having some technical issues. So it's just YouTube tonight. So that's why we're asking you all to share the live out. We are asking you to subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. And then C, the last and final thing we're asking you to do is to engage with us a little bit. Share your thoughts, share your experiences. You're very free to share whatever you want to share with us. Your thoughts, your feedback, your experiences, your complaints. We just don't care about that. But otherwise, we're here for it. Okay. So I actually have some notes tonight because I didn't want to miss anything because this is such a full, like, you know how when your belly gets so full, you'd be like, oh, I'm stuffed. This is like one of those kind of messages tonight. It's like you're going to get off the live tonight. You're going to be like, oh, I'm stuffed. Keya McLean, the poet, and Shimeka, the dart therapist. Oh, they filled me up.
Yes.
So that's why we have notes tonight, because we want to make sure we touch on everything tonight. So let's talk about it. Let's get right into it. And you know what I have to always do, and that is the hourglass. Boom, boom, boom.
Yes.
We got the hourglass going. And Keya McLean, the poet, and Shimeka, the dart therapist, is about to get it.
Yay.
So, question, you guys. Are you choosing your mate or your potential significant other based on convenience, checklist traits, or what's most available right now?
Right.
So you can answer the question if you like, but it's important to know if this approach prioritizes what's right on paper versus what's properly aligned for you. So
break down
sometimes,
both of them. Break down both of them.
Okay, so there is a thing where they say, "Oh, that person looks good on paper," right? We've all kind of heard that saying, and so that the good on paper is what society may feel is deemed as good on paper, right? And a lot of times society feels like a six-figure man that owns a home, that drives a particular car,
Right.
has a certain background. Those are the types of men that just, I can just admit to it as a little girl. It's like, oh, he checks all the boxes, right? He looks good on paper. That is the type of man you want, darling, because he got all the things.
Right.
Okay. And the other side to that is what feels more aligned for you. It feel just because that person looks good on paper, according to society, what does it feel like for you?
Right.
Because sometimes, like, it doesn't feel authentic, it doesn't feel natural, it doesn't feel like a true connection, but this person has these boxes checked.
Right.
But you meet someone that may not have the six figures, that may not drive a particular car, that may not come from a particular background and live in a certain house, but it feels natural, it feels real. So those are two different experiences. One isn't truly your experience. Is the societal pressures that have oftentimes been put onto women as it relates to men. And then there's that other one that feels very natural and organic for you and real, but that will cause pressure because of the ridicule or the judgment of you dealing, let's say you end up with a janitor, someone that makes, a lot less money than you, that has a career that's not deemed as high profile, like society would deem certain, particular. This is why people ask you when you meet them, what do you do for a living? It's so they can size you up. That is the reality of it. And that plays a integral part in how we choose people, because we've been psyched out to think that only certain people have credibility in this world,
Right.
are important in this world. What makes a lawyer more valuable and more important than a janitor or a teacher? Their title, and so I'm not knocking a lawyer or a doctor, but I am saying that if it doesn't feel aligned for you and you're just doing it based on what their title is and what their salary is and what the optics are, then that may not be the relationship that is aligned for you.
Right.
Whereas a person that you meet that you share interests, that you just have this natural connection, that it seems easy and it flows, we'll sometimes pass those guys up. And I'm just speaking from a woman's perspective because I'm a woman. We'll pass some of those guys up for the ones that's in that little short list that check all of the boxes, because let's think about it. That list is not very long. Okay. The list is not very long of available, supportive, loyal, honest, transparent.
Right.
That list is not as long. In the six-figure, got his shit together, mentally and emotionally healthy and aware, doesn't want to put his hands on you, like all of that list can be a little shorter for all of the boxes to be checked.
Mm-hmm.
However, what's important to you? Multiple choice or fill in the blank?
Now, when you had initially mentioned this earlier this morning, I was like, so my assumption was, because this is the first time me saying this out loud, because you're like, I make a list of who I, what I wanted from a relationship.
Mm-hmm.
Hold on, I gotta sneeze. Okay, went away. So
fake psych.
It was like right then I was like, oh, come
that
on.
That sneeze was like, I faked you out.
I'm gonna go back in. What the heck?
Faked you out.
So, because I've always been, not always been, but I have been fearful of making that list, right? Making a list of I like 10-page easy essay questions. Don says I like 10-page essay questions. I've always been fearful of making a list, right? Because I feel like I'm going to not. So when you said make the list, I was thinking about that, right? Making a list of what you want in a man, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then the multiple choice, because I was like, what if I make this list, right? And then I forget like something that I might need. So then what if I make this list and take it away from universe to provide for, like to give me something that I didn't even know I needed.
Mm-hmm.
So I've always been fearful of making that list, because I'm like, what if in making this list, I put myself in a position where I close myself off to something that, that universe knows I need.
Yeah. And I think like, so for me, my list was less about what I think a lot of other people lists are. Like my list wasn't about optics. My list was about more internal stuff.
Right. How to make me feel.
Yeah. And so for me, I needed to prepare that list because before I wasn't clear on that. I would just say, I really want a good man. What does that mean? Right.
Yeah.
And so I think you do have to be clear. Of course, you're not going to pull everything out of what's in your mind or your heart that you desire. You may not pull everything out, but I've shared my list with you all on here before. The list is more so about you creating that energy and then you attracting that energy.
Yeah.
You might get more, right? You might get a bonus.
Right. I need that.
Which is what I feel like I got. Like, I feel like, oh, okay, I got the bonus.
Oh,
so I got extra.
Yes.
Right? But the list was, and some people thought my list was long and some people thought, my list was about right. But ultimately for me, it was what I needed. I needed to know and be clear, that I wanted a man that was going to be honest with me. I needed a man that was going to be loyal to me. I needed a man that supported me.
Right.
I needed a man that had emotional intelligence.
Yes.
And so those types of things were important and I needed to list that.
Right.
Now, there are the lists that contain height, weight, color of eyes, salary numbers, home square footage, vehicle. Like literally, there are people, and I know these people who have these lists that are strictly about an external thing.
Now, do you think that that's too because they make it so unrealistic because it's really a self-sabotage? Could it be?
It could, like that could be a very well subconscious thing to me.
Right.
Yeah. So yeah, I could see that. I think that
they not this. So then when they meet that person, well, they didn't check and they don't have the blue eye. They don't have, know.
Yeah. That I can see. You're right.
I was thinking, because when I did make a list, right? And I thought this was the book, because I got like 5 different journals in different places, in case, like when I'm sitting there, I'm like, oh, I'm writing this one, and it don't be that this wasn't
Yeah,
it.
yeah, yeah. Let me go back to that one.
Right.
But that's that ADHD.
Right. I've embraced it. You know, I'm like, I just maneuver based off of what I'm needing. But you know what, but you know, that was one of the things. One of the things was like, because I do like there's sometimes one like impulsive, right? I like when somebody's like, let's go somewhere, you know. So sometimes, you know, that balance of impulsive and, you know, and what.
So one of the things that should be on your list is I desire a spontaneous man. Okay. That should be on your list.
Yes.
You know, that's not an external factor. It has nothing to do with money or prestige. Right. It is something that you enjoy and you like. Right. Is you like for a person to be spontaneous, you know, and that you may not need it 100% of the time, but you would enjoy somebody that embodies that spontaneity. Right. So that's one thing that can go on your list. You know, I desire a man.
Oh gosh,
I desire a spontaneous man. I desire a man with great conversation. Yeah. He's a great communicator.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. My husband, my future husband, is a great communicator. My future husband is spontaneous.
Communicator. Spontaneous.
And while you writing your notes, I want to go to the next point, you guys. So spontaneous, he stutters.
Oh, right, because his brain is moving faster than his mouth, right? Yes.
So the next point is so when it comes to the fill in the blank lover, it's almost like you're creating, like we're doing, with intuition and depth, right? So you kind of took us into the segue of the next point. Are they seeking connection that allows room for discovery, creating, and growth?
I love it.
Does this person value shared co-creation over predefined expectations?
Oh,
right?
I love that.
Okay, so here's the thing. When we do the fill in the blank, it's okay, what we just did, right? Mm-hmm. My future husband is going to be spontaneous. My future husband's going to be a great communicator, right? Because this is giving me room, and also him. It's giving us room for that discovery, for creativity, for our relationship to grow. Mm-hmm. And then again, we don't think about shared values, right? Right. So what kind of values do we share? Mm-hmm. And then going to the next step, what predefined expectations do we recognize that we have?
Oh, okay. Oh,
so that we don't do that with this potential partner, right? Because sometimes, and I hear people say this a lot, my expectation was this, my expectation was that. Mm-hmm. And what is the expectation? We've talked about this before. Mm-hmm. I call it expectation. Your invisible thoughts, right? That person is looking at you, talking to you, and that's invisible to them. Mm-hmm. They don't know anything about it. It's almost like that new term that I coined, Casper grief. Mm-hmm. It's invisible to other people. Right. Only you are privy to that. Mm-hmm. Yet you have an expectation for other people to identify and recognize and know that. Mm-hmm. So which always leads to disappointment.
Right, because you want them to read your thoughts.
Right. And if it leads to disappointment, then it leads to resentment, mm-hmm. right? And anger.
Again, the sabotage. Like you didn't meet this expectation in my head. So therefore, you know, yeah. And you know, when you say husband, like, because I'm open to being married, but I don't think that's I'm open to it, right?
Well, you don't know what it is.
So I'm gonna say future partner.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Whatever is suitable for you, right?
Right.
So, and thank you for that correction, because you're right. Everyone doesn't have the same end goal.
Yeah.
Right? The end goal may not be marriage for you. The end goal may be, I just want a lifetime partner, or I want a long-term partner, or I just want a person that's going to be good to me and I can be good to them.
But even identifying that, right?
Exactly.
Identifying that, identifying if that's what you like, that's what you want, if that's what you want.
Yeah. And so the comments here, Don says, excellent points. And then Marcus says, are the blanks affirmations. The blanks affirmations.
The blanks. Like when you say fill in the blanks. Could they be?
I guess they could be.
You could turn it into an affirmation.
Yeah, you could turn it into an affirmation. Yeah. You can do whatever you want. It's yours, right? Like, I'm not telling you how to do your thing. I'm just telling you the possibilities that are there. And these are possibilities that could be either hindering you,
right,
or helping you, right, towards getting to what you want. Because like I said, I think oftentimes we'll complain about something, not getting something and not having something, but not necessarily having the awareness to even know what it is we want.
Yes.
How do you complain about not having something and you don't know what you want?
Right.
So this goes to my next point. Are you choosing or creating? Are you selecting a partner from a preset list of options, or writing in someone who aligns with your evolving needs and desires?
I like that.
And how does your dating pattern reflect your healing, your self-worth, and your readiness? Now that's deep. I want to sit on this one for a little while. Are you choosing or creating? Are you selecting a partner from a preset list of options, or writing in someone who aligns with your evolving needs and desires?
Right.
And how does your dating pattern reflect your health, your healing, self-worth, and readiness? Choosing. Now, this is an interesting question, because I had to ask myself this question. Over the years, I feel like I've chose things rather than created. And that's why when I made the list, that was good for me, because I created a reality. First of all, let me say this from a transparent space. It's hard for you to get something that you don't even think you can get. Let me say that again. It's hard to get something that you don't even think you can get. Example, if I didn't think that I was worthy of a man that truly loved me and would be loyal to me, would be supportive and caring and nurturing and honest, then I'm going to just choose whatever comes. Right. I don't have clarity, I don't have awareness, and I don't have self-worth. Okay? Those things lead to me making bad choices, which is what happened in my past. It led me to make bad choices, right, because I wasn't even clear. There was no clarity. What do you want, Keya? That's why I talk about the list. The list can be as long or as short as you want, but it's directional. Right. Nothing reaps nothing to me. If I don't have anything, then I'm just choosing anything. Right. I'm not clear. So by me writing it out, I can more quickly identify, oh no, that's not on my list. Those character traits aren't on my list. You're in the club every other day. That's not on my list. You don't speak with integrity. That's not on my list. I was dismissing people a lot more quickly because I knew that I was creating and not just choosing something anymore. Yeah. Y'all ain't even hearing me. I just said something. Man. Y'all ain't even hearing me. Yep. I'ma just sip, because y'all didn't hear that. Man. And I'm sitting here thinking, man, where I'd be like, well, let me just see. I already saw, but let me just see.
Let me keep going. Let me see.
And that's my point.
Exactly.
That's what I was doing. And I kept just letting me see. Oh, okay. Well, they asked me on a date. Let me just see.
Just see.
Right? They said they like me. Let me just see.
Right.
Right? So we find ourselves in those situations, and then we're like, oh, maybe I should have thought this through. This goes back to what we said earlier. What I'm not saying earlier today, but earlier in some other podcasts about if you're not careful, you'll be with somebody 10 years and still not know why the fuck you with them.
Yeah.
Okay. Am I preaching too much? Because God said I'm preaching, close the doors and take offering. Because I ain't even done yet.
Preach.
I'm just warming up because somebody needs to hear this. We are out here just choosing whatever when we need to create what we want.
Yeah.
Coming from the person that was doing a lot of reckless decision making,
man,
trust and understand. I'm only telling you this because I know what's on the other side.
Man.
Yeah. Right? So I know what it's like to say, you know what? But this is good, and that's good, and this could be good, and that could be good,
right.
and that could potentially be okay.
I can change this. I see his potential. Oh, that's the one I see potential.
That potential. We've talked about this so many times. We have to get out of the space of choosing anything. The same way we can create the life we want, we can create the energy of honing in on the right partner for us. Because when we don't believe that we're worthy of that, what we do is we just settle.
Yep.
You just sit your ass down in that spot because, oh, I'm right here, so I might as well take a seat. You don't need to sit everywhere where you go. Sometimes people say, go ahead, have a seat. I say, I'll stand. Because I'm not staying long.
Right.
It's the same concept with relationships, right?
Yeah.
I know I'm going to use an analogy.
I love it.
I ain't staying long. I don't need to sit down. I'm good. It's the same thing when I meet somebody. That's great. You got potential. You got potential for someone else, not for me. So I'm creating the type of relationship I want.
Right.
I'm not just choosing anything. I'm not allowing just anything to choose me.
Right.
So the next point is about preference, because we all got preferences, right? We all got preferences. I got preferences. I ain't gonna lie about that. I got preferences. But sometimes our preferences can also be our limitations. Okay. So how do those rigid preferences? Because some of us, and you know what the hell I mean when I say rigid preferences. Don't ask me to define it. Don't ask me what it means. Google rigid and see if that falls under the shit you're doing. Okay. That's what I'm gonna tell you.
Right.
But I'll give you a few examples. Race, height, income. Those are considered rigid preferences. So I think that personally, I don't think that race is a rigid preference for me. But I can see how some people would think that race is a rigid preference. Now, the reason why I don't think that is because if you don't have an attraction to a person, then okay.
Right.
That's not a rigid preference. It just is what it is.
Right.
If I'm not attracted to certain people, that's not rigid.
Right.
So, but other than that, I can see like height, income, that can be rigid because like I've dated short guys that were shorter than me. I've dated guys with various levels of income, various heights, various skin complexions. But I'll tell you this, in a multiple choice mindset, it prevents a deeper connection from forming. So it's hard to form connections with people when you got all of these preferences that are at the front. Like you're not seeing what's there. You're seeing with the lens of your preferences.
Right.
It's like, well, I would prefer somebody with brown eyes. They have green eyes. Oh, I would prefer somebody that has brown hair. They have black hair. So you're not hearing them. You're not seeing them. You're not open to connecting. In that instance, it's your preference. You can have that. But understand, sometimes those rigid preferences can reduce your chance of truly connecting with somebody. You're not opening yourself up to exploring new experiences. Sometimes it's like, I've done this same thing over and over. Okay, has that shit worked for you?
Right.
Has it? I mean, and I tell people a lot of times, I definitely have never really had a preference. I have never truly had, okay, let me take that back. I've had certain preferences. Those certain preferences for me were two things: race, and not even age, more or less parental status. So those two things have been my preference: race and parental status.
Right.
Those are non-negotiables for me.
Right.
So once you have that set of parameters, then you can create this other future creation of what you want. Then you can go from there and say, okay, so these are the true non-negotiables. I'm not going to step off the platform for anything that is non-negotiable. When you step off the platform, right? So for instance, let's say I met a man that had 5 kids and the 2 of them was grown and 3 of them were under 12. That's not anything that I was interested in dating. Now, granted, I had my son young, and I was in my 30s by the time I was an empty nester. That's not, I'm not blaming another man who waited and had kids later or whatever, but I don't care. I don't care. I don't want to raise other people's kids. I had no interest in it whatsoever. In fact, it was one of my biggest issues in my first marriage. Is the whole, my kid was young, he didn't have any kids. It was just, it was too much. Then when I dated people with kids, I had to deal with their previous significant others, and it was too much for me. Those were very non-negotiable things for me. So again, you create what it is that you create what you want.
That's right.
You create what you want. You don't have to accept anything. You don't have to settle with anything. And then there's this conversation about compatibility versus possibility. This one is good, y'all. So multiple choice is often rooted in compatibility based on status and similarities. Fill in the blank is rooted in possibility. Who you can grow with and co-author life alongside. Which approach is more aligned with where you are in your relationship journey? Neither is wrong.
Right.
Okay, let's be clear about that. Neither is wrong. There's no right or wrong. It's just your decision. You get to choose whatever you want. The consequence can sometimes come up, or the reward.
Right.
So, you get to choose whatever that looks like.
Right.
If I am not compatible with you, however, I like what you do for a living, and I like what you drive, and I like the home that you live in, and I've made a decision to settle with you, that's going to show up in the relationship. It just is. So I want to address these comments and then we're going to kind of dig a little bit deeper. Don said, say it again for those in the back. I don't think they heard you. Marcus said, what can I eat here? And I am allergic to seafood. My choice is shrimp, lobster, crab. I stay with fill in the blank. And then Don said, LOL. Marcus said, you win with light skin. Shout out. I don't even like light skin men. I don't know how you made it, but you did. I like them dark. I like them dark.
See, but because you were open.
And you don't know, I'll put your ass in the sun. Keep on talking.
I
was open.
And you wasn't rigid. Like I owned you.
Mm-hmm. I wasn't rigid. And I was open to brown skin boy.
Your brown skin. You know I love your brown skin.
Because the darker, the better.
The sweeter, the juice.
I love me a Morris chestnut Idris Elba, baby. But I love you too, baby. I love you too.
I love you too, baby. So as you were talking, I was, just remembering how I used to choose them based off of lust, right? If my body responded to them when they was around, like, right, like, this is my.
We thought that was the answer.
That was it. That was it right there.
Yeah.
Right. And every time. That wasn't it. That wasn't it. That wasn't it. You guys had a sexual attraction. But being honest with yourself with that, right? Being honest with myself, I had to be like, okay, that's what that was, right? And now again being more intentional and I'm finding myself love, like again, just conversation, somebody that has something to offer in a conversation, somebody that makes me think, somebody that can give me something new to, just expand my knowledge and my awareness. And it doesn't even matter what it is, but it's just, and then that's weird. Like me, I'm a weirdo. So talk about weird shit. Talk about weird shit.
But see how cousin, like, see how even when you describe, what you want to create in your life, I saw it on you. That's why I talk about write it out and speak about it. Because when you write it out, you actually get to feel that feeling.
So then when they come around,
you're creating the feeling. Now I recognize you.
When you show up, because I'll be like, it'll exactly be that.
I'm familiar with you already. I've created this energy of who you are.
Go on, girl. I
keep telling them. I know a little something.
Yes.
I can drop a nugget here and there. You create, and listen. This is a powerful thing, and I know a lot of people don't believe this. And as a person who has done a lot of manifesting, I'm telling you, when you create that thing, you recognize it. Otherwise, you're just out here willy-nilly picking things up. Off topic, but I'm going to take it back to where we are. So one of my best friends, he's a financial advisor. And he's constantly teaching me things, telling me things about money, making me aware of certain traits and behaviors and things like that. How to attract more money, how to save money, how to budget more wisely, those types of things. So one day we're having a conversation and he says, I need you to create a plan for your finances. Okay. And I said, I keep trying to do that. And this was years ago. He's telling me this. I said, I don't know how to do that. Like, what does that look like? And he goes, well, you know how you go into the store and you go shopping and you're like, oh, wow, That's only $4. Well, although I don't need it, I'm going to get it. It's on sale. It's a good price. You didn't try it on. You don't know what it actually looks like on you. You were sold on the fact that it was $4 and you got an extra $4. So why not? It goes into the buggy. And you keep going along and you see something else, and that's 99 cents. Then that over there is $7. And you've picked up 5 or 6 things that are at this reduced rate. But that's not what you went to the store for. And when you go places and you do things and you're not clear, you end up overspending. You end up choosing things that are not to your advantage. And so when you do that and you overspend, what did I say? You can make whatever choice you want to make. There's a consequence or there's a reward. The consequence of me going in the store and picking up 17 sale items is I've overspent now. Now I have to figure out how to budget differently until my next check. And you do that long enough, you get to see the level of chaos you've put yourself in financially. When it comes to relationships and finding who you're connected to and compatible with, if you just go pick up something because it's there, because it's available, you just out here collecting shit that don't have no real worth to you. And that is the connection that I wanted to bring together with that, because you just picking shit up.
All right. Nuggets.
I told you I wasn't coming to play. I wrote my notes today because I said I ain't coming to play. I ain't coming to play today. You see, they quiet on me today. We're gonna see what the replays come back and say to us. Because this shit is deep. But honestly, like, I love it because it really does put us in a space to have healthier, better relationships. Because that's what it's about. This is positioning you for healthier connections with people, because you're going to start recognizing these things, because you're going to list it out. And it's going to be familiar to you. That energy is going to be familiar to you. You're going to say, oh yeah, that's my future wife or partner or whatever. And you're going to say, oh, that's my future partner or husband, you know? And so we get to more in a more organized fashion. I'll use that word, in a more organized way, because when it's chaos and confusion, that's what we selected. Chaos and confusion. So when you really kind of hone in on, this is what I desire. How many times, and I talked about this when we had our live about the popping the balloons, and it was, how many times somebody say, what do you want in a relationship? Or you've heard somebody ask that question and you've heard nothing but fumble. They fumble. They fall right down the steps. They fumbling. Because most people don't know what they want. Write it down. So it's clear. Because otherwise, if you don't know what you want and people see you don't know what you want, they'll give you anything they think you want.
Yes. Yeah. And they can only do that so long.
And
they're gonna do that so long.
I was waiting for you to say that.
You know, the real show up. It'll show up eventually. You just gotta wait. You gotta watch.
They can only do it so long.
And so I wanna because this last situation where I was talking to this guy, and so that I found on the dating app, and great conversation. We, cool. But I paid attention, right? First, I paid attention to what he said in the very beginning. In the very beginning, he said he tends to self-sabotage relationships. And so
I'm glad you're talking about this.
Okay, so and I'm proud because even being in this situation help show me the growth that I'm in. So when he said it, I didn't graze over it. I didn't say, because I know I've said things like, oh no, that's not what you really mean, or no, maybe you don't do that, right? Maybe you don't do that. No, no. So I asked the question. So because I was present as he was sharing, I asked the question. I said, well, what makes me think that you won't do the same thing in this situation? And he said, well, I'm doing better and I'm growing. Okay. But I'm going to put that, I'm going to hold on in my back pocket, right?
Back pocket.
Articulate, great conversation, very smart. And so we, talked, hung out a couple of times and stuff. And I left on a trip and I came back and I felt the pullback. He had pulled back and I felt it. Now, past me would have tried to chase it. Let me chase it. Let me let him know. Because he's pulling away. Right. And I did. Oh, and before then, though, I was like, okay, I want to date you. I want to be in a relationship. And he was like, no, I said, I want to get to know you more. So can we focus and can we be in each other's, we just focus on each other. And his thing, and he was honest. We had an honest kind of conversation. He said, then that means you want a relationship. I was like, well, no, because we're still getting to know each other. I just want you to focus on me, though. He was like, so you want me to just focus on you and we focus on each other and that's it. He said, that's dating. And I was like, yeah, but okay, I guess, yeah, that's what it is. Right. Okay. Because he was like, I'm dating other people. And I said, okay. So I was like, okay, am I okay with this? Okay, we're still getting to know each other. Because
now talk about the length of time.
It only been 3 weeks. It only been 3 weeks we were talking. And so, so I'm like, okay. And so then he said something else. He said, you want a fast escalator. He said, I'm a slow escalator and I'm scared of heights. Okay. So I'm putting that in my back pocket. Okay. So then when I go on my trip and then I come back and he pulled back. Because usually I'm talking to him every other day. Like he checking in, whatever, even if it's just a hey or whatever. But, and we had to slow down the conversation because the conversations would be like 4 hours long. So we knew we couldn't talk during the weekdays sometimes because we'd be like, okay, we got to get off, But those pulled back. And I was like, all right. And so I just thought he was with somebody else. So again, I didn't chase because it's okay. It's okay. I'm in a space where I'm okay with being single. And if you're not choosing me, it is okay. I'm okay. And so I just pulled back and I was like, oh, all right. Well, then he's made his choice and that's fine. So then he reaches out and calls me. Red flags. Exactly, Don. And so he reaches out and calls me and we have this conversation. And again, so I still was like, okay, let me see. And so we meet up and then I don't hear from him for 4 days. So I said, this is not going to work. It's not going to work. And so because I want somebody to check for me, right? I want somebody to check for me. It don't have to be every day. I'm okay with not every day because I sometimes I can't do every day, especially after I get off work. I'm like, I don't want to talk to nobody. And so, but I want you to check for me and make sure I'm good. And so I let him know. I was like, this is not working because of this. And again, this state of where I am, this helped me see where I am, where I'm having this conversation. Again, I'm not, because in the past, I've tried to prove myself. Look, I'm a good woman and look at me, what I can do. I'm right. And this time I didn't do that. And I said, this is not something that we are going to, because I want somebody to check for me. And that's not what you're doing. And so he was able to take accountability. And he said, you know what? I reckon. So as he was talking, he was like, I felt a lot of pressure. I said, what kind of pressure did you feel? And he was like, as he was talking, he was like, okay, maybe that wasn't you. That was me. I was like, okay. And he was like, I was in my head. And so and then I said, well, maybe you need to change your checklist on the app because you said you was looking for a relationship and maybe that's not what you're really looking for. I said, and I was like, and I said, and we was like, okay, and we separated, and it was no arguing, it was no yelling, because there was no need to argue and yell. This just wasn't it. And I'm not in a place to be like, I need a man, I need them to be around. He was a nice guy, good conversation, and even just the again separating them and the communication at leaving each other was beautiful. I was like, cool. But it just showed me, like, I didn't have to go into a place of, why didn't he see that I was worthy? None of that. Because I am.
Because that's where we would go in the past, right? We would question ourselves
that I'm not good enough. He didn't see my gift. He didn't see who I am. And it had nothing to do with that. It's just that this wasn't it. I didn't need to sit down. I need to stand up. I'm not taking the seat right now. And that's okay. And it didn't have to be, and it wasn't ugly. It was like the best.
And it wasn't a thing, right? So I wrote down, what I wrote down as you were speaking was, it ended, and that's okay. But it also ended with clear and honest communication.
Yes. Very first time I've ever done that. I was like,
that's what happens, though. That's what happens when you're clear about what you want, and that person is not showing up as that. That's okay. Because the other thing I wrote is two things can exist at the same time. He can be a great communicator and listener, and he can also not want what he claimed he wanted. And through life, we've come to understand to pay attention to people's actions and not just their words, because people can tell you whatever it is they want to tell you. Their actions are going to be the proof in the pudding, right? So his actions started to show you, he ain't really about no life of no relationship.
And that's okay.
Right? Wait a minute. This is the other point about two things can exist at the same time. Or instead of him being honest and straightforward, like I'm being with him, he just doesn't want that with me. Right? Now, and this is a thing. I think men struggle with this. Men struggle with that truth. Like, I'm going to hurt her feelings. I'm going to do it. Or maybe I won't have access to her anymore. My brother used to always tell me that. Like, I'm not going to tell a woman that I'm not interested in her that way, because then I'll lose access to her. He said, so you got to pay attention to the niggas that do that, because they just want to still have access to you. So they won't tell you the truth. You have to pay attention to their actions. Their actions are letting you know, I'm all in. Or, girl, I'm just playing with you.
Listen, I got one for the win, one for
my mouth is saying this. My mouth saying this. But look how my actions are. I'm not gonna be consistent. I'm not gonna show up for you. All of those things are gonna be the proof that we need. But again, I think in the past, what the problem was is we thought it was our fault. And we wanted to seek understanding, which caused us to chase people, which caused us to not have the self-worth that we needed during that time. Lastly, so this is not to put you on the spot. And if you don't want to answer this question, you, of course, do not have to answer this question. But I want to ask this question for a reason. So you said that you want somebody to check for you. Right? What is your definition of checking for you?
I'm calling regularly, and again, it doesn't mean every day. Making sure I'm good, checking in with me, like they have concern for me,
right? Concern. So then you said they don't have to call every day. So my question to you, and this is only for clarity purposes, right? Because I'm only listening to your words, and I'm saying, okay, well, if you want somebody to check for you, but they ain't got to call me every day, what is they don't have to call you every day part?
What do you mean?
There's something with that. When you say, I want somebody to check on me, have concern, but I don't need to talk to them every day. They don't need to call me every day. What is that?
What is?
Where is that coming from? That they don't have to call you every
Excuse
day?
me. See, I think it's because being a therapist, sometimes I don't want to talk every day. I don't want to talk every day because I just finished talking 10 hours. And sometimes I just want to be like, if you just text and be like, I just want to check on you, make sure you're good. And I can even in that moment, I can say, you know what, can I call? And then see if I'm in that space. But it doesn't, like, sometimes at the end of the day, and maybe them asking, like, is it okay if I talk to you? Is it okay if I call? But at the end of the day, like, I put my phone goes on D&D, do not disturb. And because sometimes mentally I just need to decompress. And so, yeah.
So I think, so let me just get to the point of why I asked that. Because if the desire is for someone to have concern for you, you don't want to have also contradictory feelings. Because if I want somebody to have concern for me, we may not have to physically talk, right? But do you want somebody to check in on you often?
Yeah.
And okay, so that's all I'm saying is so we can have clarity for what your desires are. And it not be, oh, well, they don't have to call me every day. Because what does that look like if they don't call you every day? It could be what he did and go 4 days without calling. So I'm just saying, let the clarity be there in terms of, I want someone that is consistently checking in on me out of concern. Okay. And whatever that may look like, it could look like, once every other day. If that's what it is, then be clear about that. Because if not, what will happen is you can sometimes, because I did this. This is what I'm gonna tell you what I did. So I said, I want somebody, and I don't have to see them every day, right? And I end up getting somebody that tries, right? Which I like. He likes it. I like it. But let's be clear. I need to talk to my husband every day, right? And whether we talk for long periods of time or short periods of time, I need to hear his voice. I need to get a text message. I need to have something, right? And so before, when I was saying that, I didn't really have the clarity to, and so then what happened is it was invisible. It became invisible to him because I would say, I know you out of town and it's good, but we don't even talk for real. And he's like, oh, okay. Well, I didn't know you needed that. So it became this thing for me that he wasn't aware of. And so,
but you weren't either, though. But you weren't either.
I wasn't either. Not fully. Not fully.
Right.
And so that's why I'm saying that it's like, if I like you and we doing our thing, that whole thing can change. So sometimes we can limit ourselves because it can change.
Got you.
That's all I was saying. Because through my personal experience, I was just like, I thought I would be cool with us, texting here and there, but no, I need to talk.
Call me.
Yeah. And so that's all I was saying.
Got you.
Because a man will hear that, and he's gonna go strictly by that.
Right.
She said we only have to talk every other day.
Well, after 2 days, if we ain't talked after 2 days, we don't even go together no more.
And I think that kind of needs to be at the front,
right? Because on the third day, we not together.
Yeah, we done already broke up, baby.
We already broke up. Yeah. I'm already dating somebody else. No. Not
you already dating somebody else. How did we get here?
I was dating this guy long distance, and he called himself getting mad at me, and didn't call me for 3 days. And I was like, I thought we broke up. So when the tables turned, and I was like mad at him, and I was like, and pulled back. Girl, was a day and a half, and he was like, don't ever. And I was like, see now. Because after 3 days, we broke up.
3 days would be that's a wrap. That's a wrap. Your ass better be in the hospital or gone. 3 days.
That's it.
3 days.
All you get.
Yeah.
3 days. I was like,
we ain't doing that one.
We're not together.
We ain't doing that.
Rest in peace. I done put on social media like rest in peace because something didn't happen to him because he didn't talk to me today.
You almost made me spit my water out. Oh my God.
I know
that
something.
That literally almost hit the mic.
3 days.
That water almost cleansed the mic. I had a little foul language tonight and then was going to clean it on off. Yeah. Doobie, who you trying to get?
Who is it? Who is it? What did you say, Doobie? Somebody at the door. No.
Doobie is over there holding it down, okay? Protecting the house.
Where's he breaking? At the front door. Somebody's be them cats walking across the front. And I'm like, who are this? The cats walking past?
Okay, so did anybody have comments, questions, concerns, complaints? We don't care about your complaints, but we'll just delete them. But you can put them there if you'd like. Cousin, did you have anything else?
Nope, it's 6:32. I got my last time for the night.
Okay. I forgot. And we're out of time. So we're not gonna close out the way we normally close out. What we're gonna do is say, we love y'all. Peace out.
Thank you.
Good night. If you watch the replay, put #replay. Bye, y'all.